there may be different markers in it, like,
Joe,
hey,
it's
this technique.
I will interrupt you for a sec. This is more or less, I know what you will say next, like
Yeah.
more or less understandable situation. But if you're not an American researcher, if your research team is not based in the US, if your research team is based, let's say, in some neutral place, I don't know, Swiss, and you found some NSA operation. I'm just imagining. I'm sorry for opening this discussion, but I'm thinking about this a lot. Where is this fine line? Where is this fine line, and how to understand what exactly did you found? Have you
Yeah, I
found?
think so. Honestly, I think research teams themselves should be unbiased. Regardless of the country that they reside within, they need to be unbiased because if they're not, if they are biased, then, you're going to have an American company that's only disclosing, Russian or Iran APTs, right? Like the enemy APTs, but none of the NSA, right? That feels unfair and wrong, to be honest with you, because everything in security is built on trust. Whether you're talking about a network or me to you, right? Like there's some level of trust there that takes place. And I think especially for the research community within cybersecurity, I think once the trust breaks down there, the whole community as a whole begins to break down. And, you can no longer then trust your vulnerability scanners. You can't trust all the threat intelligence that you have and all that sort of thing, right? So it needs to be as unbiased as possible, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, and I like your answer. Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate this vision. I think more or less the same way. At the end of the day, as soon this was my background. When we started finding all those kind of cool APTs, the main message, the main mission behind was, we don't care. We don't care. Our customers all around the world, our customers in the US, our customers in Russia, our customers in Western countries, in Eastern countries, in Iran, in Israel, in Egypt, in UAE, whatever. Those guys are the most important. And customers, I mean B2C, B2B, B2G, B2 whatever. So any kind of level customers. So that was a priority. And this is kind of my mindset. I believe that I don't care about who is standing behind. And it can sound maybe stupid, I don't know, but yeah, that's how we were thinking about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like these viruses are only meant for, let's say like a Russian domain or a domain in Iran or anything like that. I mean, even Stuxnet, with how precisely it was made, eventually it was modified to the point to where you're starting to find it on just normal civilian, laptops and desktops and companies that had nothing to do with either party or the situation.
And
So,
and again, you know why? You know why, right? Because those guys need to test their development somewhere.
right.
They can't test it in the real target. They need to test it somewhere else.
Especially when it's something as sensitive, just as Stuxnet, right? That's the example. But a great way to test it is to just launch it into the wild. And if it destroys a whole bunch of computers, okay, that was too aggressive. That's not what we were aiming for. We were aiming for something that, looks for this hardware. Where in reality, it just saw a Dell laptop and was like, yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna siphon all the data. Right. But yeah, that's a great way of testing it. If you look at, the initial tests of Stuxnet, right, when they blew up that generator in Idaho National Labs, I mean, that was a very precise thing, but they still had to go blow up, a generator that's worth like $100,000 to prove it out.
And Joe, if you don't mind, let me make a, at least for me, reasonable bridge to what's happening today. Like today, and this is one of the obvious trends, and this is what we like different researchers, different vendors are like talking over and over again. The lines, the borders are blurred. So you don't even know whether it's a state-sponsored APT, whether it's a cybercrime ransomware operation, whether it's some hacktivist bullshit. Like it's all kind of a mix of different kind of approaches. And it's not the same kind of a threat landscape like it was 10, 15 years ago. Now there are no kind of borders between those four or five different scenarios.
Yeah. No, it's a fascinating world, which kind of takes me to, I guess the next part. I mean, like, man, I feel like we could talk for another 3 hours, right? Like I need to have you back on. I'll tell you that right now. But
And maybe I'll be happy. I'm enjoying it as well. So let's schedule something.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But, with how the world is going and evolving right now, I mean, we have major geopolitical events going on, right? I mean, like it feels like the world is ending, any random day of the week now, right? Which is very unfortunate that we're in this type of situation. And with the advent, I don't want to say the advent, but with the evolution of where AI is right now and quantum computing, are you seeing potentially, new kinds of attacks that, we've never seen before, or exploits that we've never seen before, never even thought of before, that are entering, the wild, potentially generated by AI and maybe hacktivist groups or, organized crime groups? I had someone on that was talking about, these hacker groups, right? And they were saying how the legacy, mentality of it is that, oh, there's a bunch of nerds that are on some IRC chat, right, living out of their parents' basement, that call themselves a certain group, that get a 0 day here and there, that like, make CNN, right, for 24 hours or something like that, right? Well, they described it now as being closer to like the mafia. It's more closer to organized crime, legitimate organized crime groups that are, hacking companies that, I mean, in the security world, these companies, they seem like they're top notch companies where it's places that I would want to go work, right? Are you seeing a new evolution of, these attacks that are coming out?
Joe, 100%. You're absolutely right. If you don't mind, I will not provide any comments about this quantum computing threats or
Yeah, yeah.
something. And the reason behind is simple that, again, don't get me wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you know better. I haven't seen any kind of real quantum computing threats or something. Some concepts, maybe some kind of, I don't know, even I will not say POCs or something. People are like buzzing about this, but real tangible quantum computing threats. What are we talking about? While while at the same time, and again, maybe I'm wrong, I can admit, but at the same time, definitely we are moving from kind of a threat landscape dominated by large, slow moving actors to, as you said, to a very agile, automated, incredibly powered by all this AI agentic stuff threat landscape. As like several key kind of trends or shifts I already mentioned, nation states have blurred the lines between cybercrime and cyber espionage, between nations state APTs and ransomwares and hacktivists and so on and so forth. Often kind of again using proxies or kind of a dual use operations a lot more. We see it more and more. Ransomware as a service has evolved as well, being much more professionalized. The cybercrime economy with the supply chains that rival software startups. A lot of, and I know it's your kind of area of expertise, a lot of cloud exploitation has become one of the top priority targets due to misconfigurations and, I don't know, identity based attacks.